Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are distilling the absolutely massive, totally game-changing announcements from Google I/O 2026. Honestly, if you've been following the tech space even a little bit, you know this wasn't just another incremental update. We're going to map out the whole journey, from Google's sprawling, almost unbelievable vision for the future, all the way down to the nitty-gritty code developers are writing right now. We've pulled all of this straight from our comprehensive source coverage of the event, so strap in. It's going to be a deep dive. Okay, let's kick things off with this frankly unforgettable analogy from our source. It is dark, but wow, does it perfectly capture the ambition Sundar Pichai and Demis Hassabis laid out on that stage. They don't just want Gemini to be a cool app you visit occasionally. No, they want to make their AI entirely omnipresent, like deeply embedded into the DNA of literally everything you touch. It's a fascinating and, yeah, maybe slightly unsettling picture of exactly where software is heading.
So here is our roadmap to navigate through all this chaos. We'll hit 1, the Agentic Gemini Era. 2, hardware and massive scale. 3, models and expressive UIs. 4, anti-gravity and AI coding. And finally, 5, web APIs and emergent. Let's just jump right in.
Part 1. The Agentic Gemini Era. Becoming the interface to reality. In this new paradigm, the classic search engine, that page of 10 blue hyperlinks we've all relied on for decades, is officially considered an archaic relic. Google's new playbook is almost hilariously simple, but the implications are huge. Basically, take the word Gemini, slap a noun on the end of it, and ship it. So we've got Gemini Spark, Gemini Omni, Gemini Flow. But the real kicker is how everyday tools are transforming. Search, it's an AI agent now. Gmail, agent. Android, agent. Even your glasses are AI agents. The ultimate goal here is to turn every single thing you use into an autonomous entity that acts on your behalf. And this represents a massive, fundamental shift in Google's core philosophy. They aren't just trying to organize the world's information anymore. According to our source, Google is straight up racing to become the actual interface to reality itself. They are sprinting to lock down this new baseline before competitors like Anthropic and OpenAI can spin up their own better realities. This is literally the high-stakes AI endgame happening right in front of us. But look, high-level philosophy requires immense physical infrastructure, right? You can't simulate reality on a MacBook. Which brings us to part 2, hardware and massive scale. To really wrap our heads around how they plan to pull off this agentic era, we have to ask the obvious question. Just how massive is their infrastructure right now? We need to look at the staggering leap in their computational throughput over just the last 2 years alone. Get a load of this number. 3.2 quadrillion. Over the last 2 years, Google went from serving 9.7 trillion tokens a month to a mind-bending 3.2 quadrillion tokens per month. Alphabet's capital expenditures have just absolutely exploded to build out this infrastructure. And the funniest part, as our source jokingly points out, a huge chunk of this is just to support all the wild AI images users are generating. Like asking for a picture of a pug dressed as a certified public accountant. And the crazy thing is, that number's only going to keep accelerating. So to avoid completely buckling under that unprecedented scale, Google announced a major hardware pivot. They are splitting their famous custom tensor processing units into 2 entirely distinct chips. The TPU-T is dedicated strictly to training. Think of it as hardware highly optimized just to teach a robot how to think. Then on the flip side, we have the TPU-I. This is optimized purely for inference, or as our source vividly puts it, hardware optimized for hallucinating search results on a global scale. This division of labor is absolutely critical to keeping the whole engine running. All right, let's see how this incredible hardware builds out the actual software layer. Part 3, models and expressive UIs. The absolute, undisputed star of the show at I/O was Gemini Omni. Demis Hassabis seems completely, fully committed to this vision, stating that this model is entirely world modeled. What does that actually mean for you? Well, it means models like Omni aren't just generating text or pushing pixels around anymore. They have this deep understanding of language, physics, motion, and the real world, enough to actually simulate reality on demand. You hand it any input, text, video, audio, and it spits out any output based on a real physical understanding of the world. It's wild. And because the model simulates reality like that, it unlocks a completely new Gemini app design system called Neural Expressive. Now, at first glance, you might just see some updated icons or smoother gradients. But what's genuinely revolutionary here is that Neural Expressive completely throws out static layouts. It's built to generate UI elements totally on the fly. Depending on what you prompt, it will instantly build custom diagrams, interactive timelines, or entirely new mini apps that literally did not exist 2 seconds before you asked for them. As for the core large language models themselves, Google dropped Gemini Flash 3.5. Now, this isn't their massive, big brain model, but man, it is fast. According to the benchmarks they showed, it performs incredibly well, holding its own against heavy hitters like Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5, but operating in a completely different stratosphere of speed. But, yeah, there's a catch. The actual top-tier big brain model, Gemini 3.5 Pro, still under wraps until later this summer. And as our source noted, that definitely caused a wave of disappointment across the internet. And there's actually another catch with Flash 3.5. All that blistering speed, it's going to cost you. Big time. Flash 3.5 comes with a massive price hike. We are talking 3 times more expensive than its direct predecessor and an unbelievable 30 times more expensive than the old Gemini 1.5 Flash. So while it might still technically undercut some competitors, the golden era of dirt-cheap hyper-fast tokens, yeah, that seems to be shifting. So, how does this whole agentic era translate down to the day-to-day grind of writing software? Let's get into part 4, anti-gravity and AI coding. Meet Google's new anti-gravity IDE, which you might have known previously as Windsurf. It is a VS Code fork specifically engineered for AI coding. But what makes it so incredibly polarizing is how it completely upends the developer experience. It feels a lot more like an OpenAI Codex clone. You are basically moving away from typing out traditional syntax line by line and pivoting to managing a swarm of AI coding agents. As our source rightly points out, old-school programmers might not be too thrilled about handing over that much control. But to prove just how powerful this new workflow is, Google ran a live demo on stage that was nothing short of mind-blowing. First, they showed an AI building a completely functional operating system from scratch, churning through billions of tokens over 12 hours. Then, the developer actually tried to boot up the classic game Doom on it. Naturally, it crashed because of missing drivers, but right there, live on stage, Gemini coded up the necessary drivers in a matter of seconds, and boom, Doom was up and running. The sheer speed at which the IDE spit out tokens to rescue a failed project in real time was just breathtaking. Okay, moving past the massive paradigm shifts, what about practical tools, stuff you can use today? That's part 5, Web APIs and Emergent. If you're a web developer, listen up, because our source highlighted a fantastic, super tangible update in Chrome, the new HTML and Canvas API. It sounds super simple, right? But it is a total game changer. It actually lets you render native HTML elements directly into a WebGL or WebGPU canvas. That means you can mix the granular, pixel-perfect control of a 3D canvas with standard, easily accessible HTML user interfaces all at the same time. The possibilities for highly interactive UIs are completely blown wide open. But let's be real, building full-stack applications with these complex new APIs, you might want some help. And that's exactly where platforms highlighted by our source, like Emergent, come into play. Instead of just hoping one single LLM guesses how to build your app correctly, Emergent spins up specialized, parallel agent swarms. You just describe what you want, and dedicated agents simultaneously go to work on your front end, your back end, your database, your testing, and your deployment. Seriously, with just a single, well-crafted prompt, these specialized agents handle the whole shebang. They set up your database wiring, configure OAuth authentication, build out your APIs. It completely wipes out the need to write traditional Express boilerplate or manually wire up a Supabase backend. As the source perfectly noted, unless you actively enjoy the self-torture of manual scaffolding, this agent swarm approach does all the heavy lifting for you. Which really brings us to the end of this explainer and leaves us staring down one final, incredibly pressing question. Think about it. If AI agents are now generating our dynamic UI elements, building out entire full-stack environments, writing our database boilerplate, and literally coding missing drivers on the fly, as we fully cross into this agentic Gemini era, are we actually still developers? Or are we just destined to become middle managers for an AI workforce? It is definitely something every single one of us in the tech space needs to figure out. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer, and keep learning out there.